Why are you getting no clients from your content? This is the biggest question of the century. People tell you create content, build a brand, and you'll magically get clients. There's actually more to it than just posting random pieces of content and then expecting clients to fall on your lap. Even if that piece or pieces of content are actually targeted towards them, there is more to it than that. So in this video, I'm actually going to break down exactly how you can get clients from your content and what you need to fix. I feel like I need to address the haters. I used to get people in my comments telling me, oh, what do you know about this? You're only getting 50 views, 100 views. And there's a few reasons for this. I created a second account, which is what you're watching this on. But two, I've actually helped some of the biggest personal brands in the space, like Black Bezos, Neural Knowledge, Gavin Speaks, actually grow their personal brand using organic content, but not just grow their brand. They actually signed clients. Their brand actually converts. So I'm not really too fussed about this channel. You can check out my main one. That's more personal. But yeah. Anyway, so there's three things that we're going to cover, and each one of these things can actually fix your content. You just need to implement it. And I'm going to show you what to do, how you can do it, etc. So first of all, we have this quadrant here. You guys should be able to see my iPad. If you can't, I fucked up. But you should have this quadrant here. Where you want to ideally be is in this quadrant right here, this section. However, so many people, and I mean, there's so many people are like here, here, or here. Now, imagine if you are low authority and low authenticity. Like, you just get ignored. Would you listen to anyone that has zero authority and they are clearly not authentic? No, you just wouldn't. It's the same if they were low authentic but high authority. This is like, you could almost see it like some doctors, some health specialists, or even like public servants like the police. A lot of the times, like, we will obey them because they got super high authority and it's the fucking law. But, you know, sometimes we're like, that guy's a bit dodgy. I don't know if I trust him. And, you know, one bad rep from one police officer affects you. So you don't ideally want to be here because it's risky. It can work, it can get you clients, and I've seen people do this. Like, you just post authority content. You just post content like, proof. Look how good I am. This is me. Yay, yay, yay. Now, you also don't want to be low authority and high authenticity, because that just means you're a friend. And I know everyone on socials is like, talk to the camera like it's your friend. 100%, I agree with that. But if you got no authority, it's not going to work. I remember when we was younger, right? I'm 25 right now. So when I say younger, I mean like, I think 19. And I had a friend that was spending a lot of money on like designer stuff. And I was just like, bro, why are you spending your money like that? You know, da 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 da. I was telling him how to spend his money. Like, you know, invest. If I had that, invest. And like the whole group chat was grilling him, right? And he didn't listen. He was like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Don't tell me how to spend my money. Like, who are you guys? And that's the whole point. Who the fuck are you guys? We're just his friends. We're not his financial advisor. We're not years past him in terms of age, so we can actually give him some wisdom. But he came back a few weeks later and he was like, yeah, guys, you know, I decided to sell all my designer stuff. You know, I'm going to start saving and investing in certain things. And we was like, yo, what the fuck changed? He was speaking to some random white guy and he was basically blah, blah, blah. I was like, a random white guy that you don't even really know like that. You took instructions over your friends. And that goes to show authority. It's technically more important than authenticity. But if you have both, you're in the sweet zone, which is right here. And I'll give you a bunch of examples because there's a bunch of coaches online that I personally love watching. I trust. They have high authority. They're very authentic and I love them, right? But if you're here, you're like everyone's favorite teacher. And everyone loves the favorite teacher. Imagine being in school and your favorite teacher's like, oh, do you want to go on break early? They allow you to do certain things. They're really open about, not fully open about their personal life because, you know, we were still kids in school. But they were like, yeah, I'm going away this weekend. We're doing this. Like, some of my favorite teachers, I ended up following them on Instagram after like we finished school. I don't know how it works in America, but you're not really meant to like follow your teachers and stuff like that. But they were like really cool. I don't speak to them, but I was just like, it's nice to see that you're doing all right. This is where you want to be. And I'll give you examples. So one example is Neural Knowledge, right? He is a coach, consultant, advisor, whatever you want to call it, all under the same umbrella. Nero is super authority, super authentic, and has massive authority, right? The reason this is so, and that's the reason he fits in this favorite teacher bucket, is because you feel like you've built a parasocial relationship with Nero. You know him. You know what music he likes. He's always singing. He's just open and transparent. He'll let you know that he doesn't have all the answers, but here's all the answers that he does have. He always refers to it as, imagine him just being one of the top students in the class and is teaching you back on the same subject that he's just been learning for the last 10 years. So there's obviously the time spent. So Nero spent like, I think, nearly 10 years in the game. So that's his authority, but then he's super authentic with just his personality, who he is. And I made a video breaking down like the strategy that me and Nero had, because I worked with him from the very start in terms of YouTube. And if you go on that video, I'll link it at the end of this video. If you go on that video, in the comments, everyone was like, it's his personality, it's his personality, it's his personality. And it just goes to show that if you have personality and proof, your personal brand will prosper. So if you want to do anything and wondering why your content is not getting you any clients, you're either missing proof or you're missing personality. And proof can fit into authority and personality can fit into authenticity. Hopefully that all makes sense. Now we can move on to the second one. And the second one, which is quite interesting, is you have low value. Not in terms of you're not valuable, but you're not showing how valuable what you know actually is. So there's a few things for this one. Lots of people always say, value is there, don't do value content. Information is there, don't give information. And it's just not true. I know Claude, ChatGPT, they're amazing. The AIs are sick, and you can Google and search any answer that you want, and they'll give it to you. But, they'll give it to you, but they won't actually, you can prompt them to do this, but they won't actually like fight back against your opinions. If you say, yeah, this is right, it will basically fucking agree with you. A real life human, a coach, they'll be like, no, I've actually lived this. You don't want to do this. And if you don't listen to them, that's your own doing. But AI will be like, yeah, you should do this. You should go ahead and do this. So value isn't dead. I just want to say value is in the eyes of the beholder. What you find valuable and what I find valuable is different. And how we find the same information valuable is also different. Some people just like lists. If you just tell them a list of things to do, that's super valuable. For example, let's say you like a creator that's cooking, right? It's just a cooking creator or like a baking creator. Someone might find, a how-to step-by-step way more valuable than just a list of ingredients, right? It's just not equal. But that's because someone might need the full step-by-step tutorial, the guide, because they've never really done this before. Someone with the list will just be like, that's what I'm missing. Oh, completely forgot I was missing the garlic, or I was missing the butter, or I was missing salted butter, or it's plain flour, or whatever it may be. And they already know the steps, or they can work out the steps because they're actually used to it. So value is very subjective. So don't stop giving value just because people are saying value is dead. Value ain't fucking dead. And you have low value because you're probably not differentiating how you're actually teaching that same information or that same value. For example, you can do, I've got a short form video about this, content archetypes. If you want a full YouTube video on this, let me know. So if you change the type of video, you can instantly just change how the value is being delivered. So type of videos include things like breakdowns. So this is where you're just doing the simple breakdown. You're breaking down why this didn't work, why this works, blah, blah, blah. You have listicles. Again, that's just like a list. You have Q&As. You have personal stories. You have interviews is a format. Case studies. That's also a very good one. We got case studies. You have tier lists. That's also very popular right now. You're kind of getting the point. If you basically make the same video, let's say you want to make a video, how to plan your next 30 days of content, right? That's just my example. You want to plan your next 30 days of content. I could do a breakdown. I could then do that same video in a list. Here's 5 things that you need to do in order to plan your next 30 days of content. This, and this. Done. Different people will find that valuable. Q&A. I always get asked, what is the best way to plan your next 30 days of content? And this is the single answer that I gave them. You could also do this in a different format. Let's say you have client calls or group calls and people asking you questions. You can record basically what you're saying, or record yourself answering their questions, and that will basically fill in this section right here. You have personal stories. I was always, winging my content. I never really knew what to do, but I finally came up with a formula and a plan that allows me to distribute or plan my next 30 days of content. I don't even know if that sentence made sense, but you get the point. Then you got case studies. You're breaking down with the client. You're like, yo, this is what my client did, basically what I did with Nero, about how the strategy and blah, blah, blah. And then you got the tier list. Okay, here's the tier list ranking advice on content, planning your next 30 days of content, or planning content in the future. Batch recording, S tier. Recording every day, F tier. Recording enough videos so you don't have to record again for the quarter. You shouldn't even fucking do that. That's not even on the tier list. Like, I'm sure you're starting to get the point here. So if you learn how to communicate value in different ways and say the same thing a bunch of different times, people will find it valuable in different ways, basically. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, we got number 3, and this kind of goes back into number 1, but this is more positioning, right? And this is probably the biggest factor. If you don't position yourself properly, you're fucked. People are not going to know what you stand for and what you stand against, which means if they don't know what you stand for, what you stand against, they're going to view you in the middle. And if you're in the middle, they ain't going to fuck with you. That's as simple as that's as simple as it gets. If you're in the middle, no one's going to fuck with you. Imagine if you have a best friend, you're at school, or you're in real life, you have a best friend, and you have someone that completely hates your guts. And your best friend's just defending them, and then your best friend's good with you, and then they're good with them. You kind of got someone that's in the middle. You can never fully trust that person, and trust is at the center of every transaction in human history. And if you can't trust that friend, you're probably not going to listen to them. It's the same way if you can't trust the creator that you're watching, the coach that you're listening to, you're never really going to spend money on that. And if you do, you're just risking it. You're taking the risk. And if you go in with that mindset of risking, it's bad for you, but it's also bad for your client, because your client's now not going to fully commit because they're thinking, fuck, this ain't going to work. I'm going to second guess everything. I'm actually not going to listen to him, or I'm going to listen to someone else. And they're taking information from flipping everywhere and it's contradicting. And then they just end up doing nothing or get no results, or poor results, or not as good as it could have been, right? So you want to position yourself. And there's a few questions that you can do. Is what I against? This is super important. What are you against? Next one is, what outcome does my brand deliver? I feel like I spelled deliver wrong. But those 2 questions are super important. If you find out what you're against, you will basically know what you stand for. And then you don't want to play in the middle. If you're against ads, be against it. Just like me. If you're running ads and not cracking organic, you're fucked. You're going to fuck yourself. Literally, you're just going to fuck yourself. If Meta goes down, if Instagram bans your account and you're just running Meta ads, Instagram ads, whatever, profile visits, and your account's gone, your business is gone. But if you're on YouTube, you've cranked organic on TikTok, YouTube. Let's say you do get banned, but you've cracked organic. You can run it up again. People already recognize your face. So if you do get banned and you start a new account, people are actually going to fucking watch you because they recognize your face, they know the value, and they're going to listen to the story of what actually happened to you. Organic is super important. Anyway, the next one is, what outcome does my brand deliver? Your brand needs to deliver an outcome to people. You can think of it as a broad scale. So before this video ends, I'm just going to go through this real quick. Think of it in like a narrow term and then a wider term. So in the narrow term is where your ideal client lives. So your ideal client lives in this circle. But then on the broader scale lives where basically 99% of your audience is going to be. Whatever it is, they need to get the same outcome. Me, I've realized the outcome is personal brand. Because really, if you break down a personal brand, it basically means you're creating content and you're trying to monetize. Basically, you're marketing yourself, which means you're able to monetize in brand deals or getting more clients for your business. So if you are my ideal client and you're like a coach or an expert at what you do and you sell services, you sell a product, building a personal brand is going to help you. If you are just beginning and you want to escape your 9 to 5, you want to leave your job, you want to become an influencer or create content, whatever it may be, you can still benefit from this. You just wouldn't be able to join my program because it just wouldn't make sense for you unless you're striving towards that outcome right there. And that's what every single one of your brands need to do. I feel like a lot of people miss this. They don't focus on the wider demographic, which means their brand never actually grows, and they just focus on the tiny, narrow one. So another example is Nero. His outcome is you create your desired reality, you manifest. That's the key component. That's the outcome. The people that watch his channel, they just want to manifest anything. They want to just create their own reality. It could be anything. His ideal client, though, 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs that also want to create their own desired reality, that also want to manifest, that also have tried everything, but they realize this is the one thing that they haven't tried or haven't utilized properly. And that's manifestation, creating your own reality, laws of the universe, etc. So all his content applies to everyone here, and then the people will self-qualify themselves to work with him. And once you do those 3 things, you'll genuinely just get more clients from your content. It's something that I really wish I understood earlier, because before I used to create content just for the sake of views, getting brand deals, etc. But now I'm kind of leaning more in on the business aspect. Even though I love like creating content about tech and AI and getting views. It's the dopamine, it hits. But also I genuinely enjoy doing brand deals, getting sent PR packages. Like the reason I created content in the first place was to do that. So that's the reason, I guess you could say, I'm passionate or I care about content and personal branding in the first place. It's not just because I'm teaching you to build a personal brand because I want money. It's because I wanted to build one my fucking self. Anyway, if you want to work with me, there's a link in the description. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you, man.